international students here. So before I begin, could I just ask everybody a favor to mute their microphones during the presentation? I'll talk for about 30 minutes, 40 minutes, and then we'll leave lots of time for questions. If, as I speak, you'd like to ask any question, then please go ahead and use the chat box, and my colleague Jingran will look through the questions and we'll make sure we answer all of them towards the end of the session. So what I'm going to talk about here in this session, I'm going to talk about a few things. I'm going to introduce the university, but before I do that, I'm going to talk a little bit about China as a destination for international study. And I'll also talk about the basics of the Chinese education system. So why am I doing this? Well, when you choose a destination for your overseas education, you need to think about the location where you're going, the big picture. Is it a place where you'd like to live? Is it a comfortable place? What kind of opportunities does it give you? And often that relates to the country and the type of country, the economy, the situation of that country. And I think when you're choosing China or considering choosing China as a study destination, a lot of these questions are very, very important. So I'm going to start saying a little bit about China. I guess you're all very familiar with where China is. Next slide. Next slide, next slide. Next one. Yes, so I think you're all very, very familiar with where China is. And I guess the other thing you know about China is it's big. It's big in terms of size. The country is huge, the size of a continent. So within this one country, you have frozen north, tundra, and at the south, you've got tropical rainforests. In the west, you've got deserts, mountains. So you're really looking at a continent, a huge variety across the country. And you also know that China has got a lot of people, 1.4 billion people, in fact. So it's a huge country with a huge population. And in the last 40 years, it's also developed a huge economy. So indeed, we're going to talk about this a little bit more. One of the biggest reasons you may consider coming to China is the size of this economy and how that impacts the rest of the world and our futures. And that is something I'm going to talk about in a lot more detail. And you can see another two statistics there. It's got the largest foreign direct investment. That means other countries, companies coming to China to invest, to open businesses, factories, research and development, sell their products, set up their institutions. Indeed, where I'm working now is one of these such investments. And that's the largest in the world. So that shows you that the rest of the world is paying attention to China. And then really, very importantly, and often forgotten, it's the second largest outward direct investment. That means that China, its government, companies, institutions are going out of China and making investments in other countries. And I guess wherever you're joining me from today, Indonesia, Nigeria, Malaysia, there will be significant Chinese investments, Chinese activities taking place. So China really is influencing and impacting every country in the world. And that is one of the reasons why it should be taken seriously as a place where you should go and experience for study or for learning the language. So let's look at the next slide. So coming back to this economy issue. Now, it's definitely the case that not all parts of China are evenly developed. So as I said, it's a huge country, very, very, very large. And I've traveled around most of this country myself over the last 20 years. And there is a big, big variety. So some of the areas, and we're talking about these areas highlighted, are extremely highly developed. So they would be the same level of economic development, infrastructure, lifestyle, consumption as Western Europe and North America. And those areas are the areas that have developed the quickest, the richest. Where we're located, we're in the Yangtze River Delta. That's blue, the blue area. That's the area around Shanghai where the Yangtze River goes into the sea. It's one of the, you know, most biggest economic engines in the world. A huge population, a very, very big economy. The economy of this area is probably bigger than most European countries' economies, just in and of itself. So a major important part of the global economy. And then in the south, you've got the area around Hong Kong and Guangzhou, what we call the Pearl River Delta. Everything's named after rivers, you'll be seeing. And then in the north, the area around Beijing. So those are the areas with a very high level of development, very wealthy areas. And then there's the rest of China. Now, the rest of China is not that wealthy. It's still developing. Now, that is something that I think is very important to remember when you're considering the future of China. If only a third of the country is highly developed, the rest of the country is still developing. And that means the growth of China will continue. The growth of the middle class, the growth of the economy has got a long way to go. Now, if you're from a country like I'm from the UK has got a strong, it's quite a stable economy, but it's a small country and it's been highly developed for 100, 150 years. And so what you're seeing is that there is not a big dynamic for further growth. There'll be change, but in terms of development, it will not change greatly. In China, it's still vastly developing. And that means the opportunities for people around the rest of the world, companies around the rest of the world, and people who are working with China, who understand China, working with Chinese companies and Chinese institutions will be incredibly positive, because we've still got a long way to go to reach a uniform pattern of development across the whole of this big country. Next slide, please. And how is this economic development undertaken? So yeah, everybody will know that China is a communist country. It is a one-party state led by the Communist Party of China. And you can see there some of the communist iconography. So how does this, it's a very, very interesting topic of discussion. How does this communist country develop so successfully a capitalist economy? Very good question. And I think how it's done is through state management of the economy. The state manages capitalism. So we call it state capitalism, where capitalism is controlled and managed to develop areas that the country sees as priorities for its growth. And you can see here, these are the priorities for the current period, the next 5 years. And you'll see that it's focusing on improving the quality of people's lives and increasing the development opportunities for people around the country, especially related to research and development, green technology, moving towards a higher value economy. So China has had a growth that's been heavily reliant on manufacturing. So, you know, if you look at your clothes, where they're made, where your bag's made, where your books are printed, where your toys, for example, are produced, and your mobile phones, probably they're made in China. So a big manufacturing industry, huge, huge. And China is thinking in the future, they want to move away from developing, just producing the world's products. They want to be the inventors, the innovators. You know, your Apple phone will say made in China, designed in California. And I think China would like to see the future made in China, designed in China. So there's a big emphasis on research, on development, on high technology. And this is where education is central to the mission of China's development. And that is why Chinese education is heavily invested in as an engine for the development of the country. And why, if you were a student in China, you would get the benefits of this state focus on the future of the economy and on the education that you'll be receiving. Next slide. And then many of you will come from countries which are on this map. This is something we thought we'd show. It's the Belt and Road Initiative, XJTLU. This is sometimes called the New Silk Road. And this is China's attempt to go out into the world as a major power and invest in countries around the world, build infrastructure, develop relationships, build up connections. I mean, you'll see very interestingly that this is a map of most of the world, but you'll see that North America and the Americas are not on this map. Why? Because in the future, I think now actually you'll see that there'll be two major superpowers, China and the United States. And this is China's intention to compete with America in terms of its relationships with other countries. So if you live in any of these countries, you'll be seeing, more Chinese investment, more strategic relationships. And that is helpful, I think, in terms of, if you're working in these countries and you're looking for opportunities, this is one of the major areas of growth and change that will be occurring in the next 20 years. Next slide. And then you can see that, since the 1990s, the economic model that China has been following has been very successful. The GDP, gross domestic product, is increasing. So now it's the second after the United States. But there is something that's hidden in these figures that I think it shows a much bigger opportunity. The GDP is the amount of money the country as a whole develops. And as I said, China has got 1.4 billion people. The United States has got 250 million people. So there's a big difference. So the GDP per capita, how much an individual Chinese person earns, is much, much, much lower than an average American. An average American earning would be probably 3 times more than an average Chinese. What does that mean? That means that the Chinese middle class is not yet fully developed. I think the middle class in China is around about 20% of the population, mostly living in those eastern cities we highlighted. That means 80% of the population are not yet middle class, are not earning high enough salaries to be considered global middle class. And that is where the Chinese government is trying to develop. So that means that the market that China already has, which is huge, could increase by another 70%. So if you are in, for example, Europe, and you're trying to sell cars to China, when you're doing it at the moment, you're very successful. Imagine how successful you will be when the number of potential consumers triples. So the market potential for related to the growth of the Chinese middle class and the GDP of China is huge. So wherever you are in the world, if you want to get into a market that is going to be growing and growing at a huge volume, then this is the market you want to come to try and do your trade business. Without doubt, it's a size of market that you cannot ignore wherever you are in the world. Next slide. And one of the other interesting things is e-commerce, or this is an example I thought we'd use because China was slower than the Western countries to develop. And what that's meant is that it's been able to leapfrog over some of the traditional practices. So one of the areas that if you live in China, every part of your life is really, really important is that you use your smartphone for everything. You use your smartphone to enter your building. You use your smartphone to buy your breakfast. You use your smartphone to obviously contact all of your friends, make phone calls, do your banking, pay your electricity bill, or order your lunch. Everything is on e-commerce using a smart device. And that's an example where China has overtaken pretty much anywhere in the world in terms of use of the Internet of Things to do simple things in daily life. So China is extremely advanced now in terms of e-commerce, technologies, IT. It's very, very interesting. And you can see how quickly this part of the economy has grown. We look at the next slide. You can see how some Chinese companies like Alibaba are now some of the biggest companies in the world, China Mobile. This is a change in the last 10 to 15 years. And it's a sign that the high-tech, high-end, highly developed parts of the economy are growing significantly and turning into international leading companies. Next slide. So we're going to finish this discussion about just China with a few images that reflect what we've called modern China or contemporary China. So you can see there the picture of the building that's here in SUZHOU, about 20 minutes away from where I'm sitting now. It's called the Gate of the Orient. It's a very beautiful part of the city. And then there's some beautiful ladies and they're wearing traditional clothes. And I think that's another thing we're going to come to, that, you know, despite being ultra modern in many respects, China has got extremely rich culture and tradition. So a very rich history and culture that is another exciting part of studying here. And then we have a VR, virtual reality device. And in fact, we're using these devices in our university now as part of learning and teaching. So it's not a future, it's a current technology. And then some young people enjoying themselves. I'm not sure what they're doing, but they seem to be enjoying themselves. Okay, so now we'll talk about the education system, introduce it a little bit. So, as we mentioned before, size, China has got the largest education system in the world. Well, that's because it's got probably the most people and the most students in the world. But it's relatively well developed, and I'll just show you how it all works. Next slide. So basically all children from age 6, 7 to age 16 have compulsory education. And the literacy rate is around 99%. So a very good fundamental education for everybody, all young people. Then what happens is what happens in quite a lot of countries. There is a kind of filtering. So at the age of 16, the poor students have to do an exam. And if they pass, they get to go to a high school. If they fail, then they often go to a vocational school or find employment. So there's a sort of filter at age 16. This doesn't happen in some countries. What then happens is the students who've passed go to a high school. Generally, they can enter a university, but it's quite competitive. So the message here is that entry to higher education is still quite competitive in China. I'm just going to drink some water. And then the higher education system is all the university degrees, undergraduate degrees are 4 years long, 4 years. The first year is a sort of introduction year. You could think of it maybe like the American system, where you have the freshman year and there's a lot of general education, fundamental knowledge, basic subjects, what we'd say would be the minors. And then from the second year, the third year to the final year, you then specialize in your major subject. So it is, in my opinion, similar to the US system in that it starts general and becomes very focused on your degree. And then most Chinese students also then do a postgraduate degree, a master's degree. And that is something that usually lasts for 1 to 2 years. Okay, next. And what we've seen at the moment, I think around 30% of students in China, maybe slightly less, are able to go to university. When I first came to China in 1999, that was around 5%. So there's been a very big increase in the number of students being able to enjoy higher education. And why has this happened? It's been happened because of places like XJTLU and all the new universities that have been built. So as I mentioned, the government has invested heavily in education and research. So almost all universities have expanded their size, and many, many universities have been opened and created. So there's now a very, very strong university sector in China. So we have private universities and public universities. And then we have these special universities like where I work, XJTLU, Xi'an Jiaotong Liverpool University, which are joint ventures. That means they've got an overseas partner and a Chinese partner, and they've come together to create a new university. And these have been created to bring internationalization and some new techniques to also increase the number of students who can get international and overseas experience. And then how these universities are categorized is something you need to understand. So we have what we call the Ivy League, and that's called the C9, China 9. That's Beijing University, Tsinghua, and also Xi'an Jiaotong, which is one of our parent universities. That's one of the Ivy League universities. Very, very hard for Chinese students to enter these universities. Very, 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 very competitive. And then we have these other groups, Group 985 and Group 211. They're considered to be the top tier, but not the Ivy League top ones. They're the ones that are also very difficult to enter. And if you go there, your parents will be very proud of you. Also strong global universities. Okay, next slide. So this brings us nicely to XJTLU, who we are, where we are. So we are a new university, around 15 years old, and we were created as part of the expansion of the Chinese higher education system. Next slide. So we are in SUZHOU. We're not in Xi'an, and we're not in Liverpool, which is strange because our name is Xi'an Jiaotong Liverpool University. So let me explain how we were formed. So University of Liverpool, which I think you've probably heard of, is a top 200 university in the world based in the UK. And they had a partnership with Xi'an Jiaotong University in China. Xi'an Jiaotong is one of the Ivy League top C9 universities. And they wanted to create a joint venture, a new university. And the government said, yes, you can create one, but you have to have it in SUZHOU. And why? Why in SUZHOU? Because SUZHOU is in the center of this economic area I mentioned called the Yangtze River Delta, where the government has put a lot of attention to high technology, research, pharmaceuticals, advanced technology. So they wanted another university in this area that could generate graduates, bring talent, and attract international students to the region to contribute to this region's development. So we're in SUZHOU, and we're now around 15 years old. Let's look at the next slide. And SUZHOU is an interesting city. SUZHOU is not a big city, not like Shanghai, even though we have got 10 million people. So I think globally that makes us very, very big, bigger than London, for example. But in terms of Chinese cities, it's not an enormous city. And it doesn't feel like a very, very big city. It feels like a sort of manageable, livable, friendly city. It's very easy to travel around. Now, what we see in Suzhou is very interesting. You can see on the image, there are two photos. There's the bottom photo next to the lake, and that's got the Gate of the Orient. That's the new city where we're located, built in the last 25 years. Everything is new. This is an area that is entirely created for the growth of Suzhou. And at the top, we've got the old city. Suzhou is actually one of the oldest cities in the world. It's probably one of the oldest cities in China, and throughout 1,000 years of history has been famous as being a center of Chinese culture and Chinese commerce. Next slide. And again, you can see the old town there covered in snow. Winter is coming, so we might be seeing this soon. And you can see the new city at night, and you can see the size of this local economy is huge. So it's the 6th biggest economy in China. So after Beijing, after Shanghai, Guangzhou, Shenzhen. But Suzhou is not a big city, and yet it's got this huge economy, much, much bigger than most other cities in China. So it's been very, very successful economically, very, very successful in terms of development and bringing people from around the world, bringing people from all around China to live here and contribute their talents. Next. And at the same time as growing very, very quickly, it's also, and this is part of its success, it's also very livable. So it's been rated by The Economist actually several times. And indeed, the United Nations, it's won an award for livability, the most livable city in China. And why is it livable? Well, in terms of positives, it's got this wonderful infrastructure, very, very good public transport. It's been well designed. So you'll notice that the university is in a place called SIP, Suzhou Industrial Park. Originally, this area was called Singapore Industrial Park, and the Singaporean government was part of the investment, one of the investment bodies. And therefore, what the Singaporean government brought is this amazing urban design. So they created the area thinking about how people would live in the area. So 40% of the area is green land, green parks, green walkways. There's really amazing like green spaces that you can enjoy. And because of that, the population density is slightly lower than most Chinese cities, and the air quality and the pollution is much reduced. So it's a very nice place to live. And then at the same time, you've got the old city, which was famous in China for its urban design and planning, built around canals and lakes. Very, very nice to go walking there and spend the day on the old streets and lanes. It's a big tourist attraction with tourists from all over China, all over the world. So you feel very privileged when you live here to just be able to be a tourist in your own city. Next. And yeah, I'll just repeat the history. So you can see here some facts about the history. Most of the old town is a UNESCO World Heritage Site protected by UNESCO for the architecture and cultural heritage. So it's got very, very long history. Next. And I should highlight where it is located a bit better. I missed that. We are 25 minutes by high-speed train from the center of Shanghai. So we're quite close to Shanghai, but we're very different from Shanghai. We're not an enormous city that you can't feel like you really know. When you're in Shanghai, you feel like you can't actually get a grip of the city. It's a great city, but in Suzhou, you kind of feel a lot more comfortable, a lot more at home. You can really get to know the city very, very well. So we're located very, very close to Shanghai. Also very easy to travel from Suzhou to pretty much anywhere else in China. And of course, being located so close to Shanghai means that it takes an hour to get to the big international airports. So in terms of international travel, it's very easy. If it wasn't a pandemic, it would be extremely easy. Okay, next slide. And as I said, SUZHOU has attracted people from all over the world, all over China, all over the world. And there's about 40,000 international expats living in SUZHOU, including quite a large number of students. So let's talk about what our programs next. Okay, so here we are. I won't repeat everything we've already mentioned, but why choose XJTLU? Next slide. So one of the big reasons I think you choose XJTLU is that when you graduate with 2 degrees. You graduate with a degree from the University of Liverpool, which, as I mentioned, top 200 in the world. You can take this degree anywhere and it will get a high recognition. And you also will graduate with an XJTLU degree. XJTLU has got a very high status now in China. We are ranked 35 out of all Chinese universities. One of the reasons we're ranked so highly is not just the quality of the academic staff and the teaching and the curriculum, but also because I mentioned the Chinese students who are admitted to this university have to be at a very high level. So the quality of the students, their academic level is very, very high. And that has helped the university become very well known in China. And we hope, despite being a young university, to be entering a very high global ranking as we develop. Okay, go back. This one, okay. So another sign of our quality is our accreditations. Now, some subjects require accreditations. If you're doing a professional subject such as architecture or some business subjects like accounting, then having a degree that's got an accreditation will help your career greatly. It would also help with things like if in the future you wish to emigrate, having an accredited degree is extremely helpful in your professional qualifications. So you can see we've got quite a lot of accreditations. The ones that are extremely important for your career, if you're an architect, you would be very helped by having the Royal Institute of British Architects accreditation. And our business school has got what we call a triple crown. If you investigate business schools, you'll quickly find out that they rank themselves according to these crowns, which are these accreditations. And the most crowns you can have is free. And if you've got free, you're considered to be the top 1% of business schools in the world. And we received all of our crowns in 2020 or 2019, I can't remember. But in any case, you would be joining a internationally recognized top world-class business school. Next slide. And then obviously, as well as the academic side of your university life, the student life you have, your accommodation, the support you get from the university, the kinds of facilities you can access is also really, really important. So you can see here on the slide some of the things that we offer. We've got a one-stop shop for all the students, so that if you've got any issues, you just go to one place. That makes your life easier. We've got a very well-developed counselling service if you need to get some extra support. We've got an on-site nurse, all the usual things like refectories, cafeterias, very, very excellent library, very, very good library. And of course, you also get access to the University of Liverpool digital library, which gives you an access to another large university library. Great IT, lots of IT facilities on campus, IT rooms, and so on. And then extra support for things like language. So you'll be studying your degree in English. So if English is not your first language, you can get extra English support through the Continuing Support Centre. And if you're studying Chinese as an extra, which most of you will be, then you can access extra Chinese support as well. And we also have a HSK. If you're studying Chinese, you've probably heard of Hanyu Shui Ping Kaoshi, the testing center for Chinese language. on our campus, so you can easily take HSK exams. Next. Now, here are our study areas. Let's go to the next slide. So we're a very well developed university now. We have around 20,000 students and around 5,000 postgraduate students. If for the undergraduate degrees, I think you can look on our website and see what we offer. We basically offer most programs that any large university would offer. We do not have medicine, and we do not have veterinary sciences, and we don't have law. So if you're looking for those, we wouldn't be the best choice, but for all the other programs, we've got a very big range. We've also got a new campus that will open in the middle of 2022. This new campus, which is around 20 kilometers from our campus here in SUZHOU, is going to be looking at some of these highly contemporary areas where the links to the development of the Chinese economy are very, very strong. So if you're considering something, for example, to do with artificial intelligence or entrepreneurship, this would be a very, very good choice, because those programs have been designed to link directly into the industry. So you do internships and work placements as part of the undergraduate degree program. Next. And if you're interested in graduate study, I think we've got around, how many masters do we have? 40. I actually don't know. Around 40 master's programs in a range of subjects. The masters are 18 months long, so slightly longer than the UK, which is 12 months, and slightly shorter than a Chinese masters, which is 2 years. And in addition to doing your University of Liverpool masters, you will also do extra credits. The extra credits for international students are Chinese language, Chinese studies and Chinese language. And we add those to the masters because we think that fluency or a decent level of Chinese is a very good asset in terms of your career. So you'll do Chinese language as well as your major subject. Next slide. Next slide. Okay, so campus. It's a shame that you're not able to visit the campus, but the campus is one of the biggest benefits, advantages we have. We have a really wonderful, beautiful campus. Let's just look at some pictures. Next slide. So not only in terms of the teaching areas, we've got very high quality laboratory access, fantastic studios for architecture and design, very up-to-date facilities. I think if you go to our website and look at it, you'll see the quality of the campus facilities. And it's also a very beautiful, friendly campus with lots of nice places to eat, lots of nice social places for mixing with your friends. Next slide. And we've got good sports facilities. I think the next slide's got the up-to-date ones. Next slide. Huh? Okay, so the sports facilities were upgraded about 2 years ago. That's why we've got 2 slides. So we've now got a brand new massive sports centre, and you can see it's even got a climbing wall if you're brave enough to climb to the top of that. Great football facilities and a really, really top class gym. So students have got a great, within their own campus, a few minutes from where they're studying, you can access, also world-class sports facilities. And the new Taishan campus, I am told, will have a swimming pool. So we're rather jealous on this campus that they will have a swimming pool. Next. Food, as I mentioned, lots of different choices. We've got 2 refectories. There's international food choices as well as Chinese, halal food, coffee shops. Really, you come to China, you've got a great menu. You can access all of the different foods from around China as well as the rest of the world. Next. And accommodation is always a big question for students. So we have at the moment quite a lot of accommodation in different areas. One of the one of the challenges caused by the pandemic is that the accommodation that's very, very close to the campus is full. However, there's some new accommodation being built and it will supposed to be open in the middle of 2022. At the moment, all the new students are going to this, the pictures that you can see, this is called Wenhua Apartments. There's a shuttle bus to campus. If you were to cycle or get an e-bike, it'll take you about 20, 25 minutes cycling. So it's not, I gotta be honest with you, it's, you can't walk from this, well, you can walk, but it'll take quite a long time to get to the campus. However, the quality of the accommodation at Wenhua is great. You can see the rooms are really, actually, they're bigger than the accommodation really close to the campus. However, what we hope for in the next 1 year is that the new accommodation will be open and we'll be able to give students a choice. In the past years, we were able to give a choice. You could choose between 2 or 3 accommodations, ones that were extremely close to campus and ones that were a little bit further away. I think within 1 to 2 years that will return. But for now, we're using this place here. It seems like it opened only a few months ago, and it actually seems that most of the students are very happy here, and a big student community has developed. So they seem to be enjoying the life in this area. Next. Now let's talk about admissions. As we mentioned, we're highly ranked within the Chinese education system. So our entry requirements are sort of above average to high. Let's look. Okay, so as I mentioned, in China, we have 4-year degrees. However, in the United Kingdom, in the UK, the degrees are 3 years. So the Liverpool degree is 3 years, the Chinese degree is 4 years. What that means is depending on what qualifications you've studied for, you'll be able to join either year 1 or year 2. If you've done, for example, A-level or the IB, International Baccalaureate, if you want, you can skip year 1 and go directly to year 2. Year 1, as I mentioned, is a general education year. So it's where there's a lot of focus on English language, Chinese, maths, fundamental introductions to your discipline. So you've got the choice, if you've done certain qualifications, to go into year 2 and focus only on the degree from the start. So our requirements, as you can see, are around BBB on A-level, 30 IB points. So whatever kind of qualification you're taking, we're looking for what would be the equivalent of a B grade, like a GPA 3 or above. So towards the top end of the academic level. And because all our programs are taught in English, we also require some English language qualification. Or if you've studied in English at your high school, then that will also be okay. So if you haven't studied in English, you need to do an IELTS or a TOEFL, and you can see the IELTS and TOEFL scores. Next slide. So IELTS, if you're going to join year 1, it's 5. If you're going to join year 2, it's 6.5. The difference is because within year 1, you will study quite a lot of English. So if your English is not so great at the moment, join year 1, you'll study around 50% of your credits will be English in the first year. And we've got the biggest language center in Asia. So we employ around 250 language teaching staff. So really, it's also an excellent place to study English in the first year. Next slide. And I think most of you are UG students. I won't say much about the masters because we're short of time, but we're looking for, again, a 2-1 B average if you want to do a master's program. Some have got a slightly higher requirement, as well as English. Next. How to apply. So the starting point on how to apply is to go to the website, and you will, or with your agent, you will open up and create an application form. And the application form doesn't have to be done all at the same time. It can be saved and you can come back to it. And it's a standard application form. You upload your certificates and transcripts, or you tell us what you're studying for, and then we'll make an offer with a condition or without a condition, depending on the status of your study at the moment. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Next one. Next one. Next one. There you are. So fees. So we cost slightly less than the University of Liverpool, but more than most Chinese traditional universities. So we charge 88,000 RMB per academic year. It's around £9,000, 11,000 US dollars. It's important to note we do have an early bird discount if you apply before the 1st of May. If you apply and pay your deposit before the 1st of May, you'll get a reduction, because that helps us, getting all of the students' processing done before the last stage. So that's a kind of thank you from the admissions team for being an early acceptor. And then for the masters, each program has got a slightly different fee, but you can see there how much. And it's also really important to point out scholarships. Next slide. So scholarships, right, scholarships. So we have so many different kinds of scholarships, and mainly because we get quite a lot of support from the government and from the university to help international students access XJTLU. And this, again, as is mentioned, is part of the policy of China to try and attract international students and bring talent to China, and also get people from around the world to understand China a little bit better, so they can go back to their own countries and then help develop that relationship, as well as be very helpful as employees for big Chinese businesses as they go overseas. So I'm going to have to finish in 1 minute, but quickly look into our scholarships. You've got a very high chance of getting a scholarship if you're an academically very good student, and you should definitely apply and take the chance to try and get some financial support for your degree. And if you were to then go to the University of Liverpool, you will get a discount at the University of Liverpool's fees as well. So I think, just go to the final slide. One more final, we call this a promotion. So because we're keen to give our students an extra chance to learn Chinese as well as their degree, if you join the UG program or the master's program, you can enjoy a free Chinese language course before your degree. So you could do the summer program, or you could do the whole 1 semester of Chinese. And that is quite helpful for students, because you're going to be living in China, and being able to learn Chinese is a really big advantage in your future career. It's also good fun, as some of you will know, because I know you study Chinese at the moment. Okay, and I think we're running out of time. So are there any questions before we get kicked off the channel? Any questions? Okay, so maybe no questions. Okay, if you have any questions that come up, anything that's been raised, just go to the booths, the open day booths, and our recruitment officers will be there waiting for you. Okay, very good question. And the most difficult question to answer. Thank you, David from Alpha Link, for this. When will the Chinese border be open to international students? I do not know. We wish we knew. So at the moment, international students cannot enter China. They can't enter some other countries as well. And we all hope that this is going to change. I honestly don't think it will change until the end of this winter, because the Winter Olympics is putting a lot of pressure on the government to try and keep the pandemic situation very, very stable. As you know, China's been very successful pretty much eradicating COVID, which is great for everybody here, because we've got, there is no COVID, but it is a problem for international travel, and I think it will continue to be so. We don't know. We think that 2022 will see a big change in policy, but towards the middle of the year. we also, at the moment, quite a lot of our international students are studying online, and the online education. There'll be a talk about that at 3:30 this afternoon. 4 o'clock this afternoon. So if you're really interested in how we're delivering the online, come to the talk at 4 o'clock. It's been very successful. I honestly think I can say that the XJTLU online delivery we've set up for our students who are outside China is probably the best in the whole of China. And if you Google us, you'll see that within the international media, we've received a lot of praise for how well we've been delivering our, what we call high flex education. So it's quite smooth. So if you were to start your degree and maybe have to spend the first 6 months or a year online, it's not a total disaster. It would go quite well. I think you'd find it relatively smooth. You'd probably also save quite a lot of money, to be honest. So it's not ideal because we are an online campus. That's what we mostly deliver in traditional degrees on site, and you get the full access to our facilities. But starting online is not a major disaster. I think it's become reasonably smooth, and our feedback from our students who've done that has been pretty positive. Okay, any more questions? Hi, I've applied for MRes. Okay, the person, Brendan, who's applying for MRes Molecular Biosciences, it normally takes a few weeks for a decision for a master's degree. If you're worried about it and you think you've been waiting too long, why don't you send a message to international and please send your full name and we'll check it out for you and maybe find out what's going on if you've been waiting quite a long time. Hello, I want to ask about the English requirements. This is the last question I'm allowed to. No, you don't need to. So I think your question is, if you join in year 1 with IELTS 5, you don't have to pass any tests to go to year 2 in terms of English. You just study the program. If you pass the program, you will automatically enter year 2. There's no requirement for any more IELTS tests at all. Your English will improve hugely in year 1. Okay, I'm now being told that we've run out of time. So please go to our booth if you've got any further questions. And it's been very nice. Well, I haven't seen you. It's been very nice talking to you this afternoon. And good luck with your journey into higher education. Thank you, everybody.